All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Mr. Payne, do you want to introduce yourself and welcome everyone here?
Sure. And I'm not sure, all I'm seeing is you. So um, my name is Steve Payne, and I'm the chairman of the Eleanor Venture Grant Committee. And uh, Josh and Tammy and I decided to just have an informational meeting and just to answer any questions that any of you might have about the grant. We haven't done this for 3 years, so we've kind of been away from it for a while, and we're really glad that some of you have decided to apply for it. And basically, we wanted to just make sure that we are kind of explaining what the grant is all about and the purpose of the grant and so forth. So, Josh, do you want to do a little explaining from there?
Sure. And Steve, since you're on an iPad, if you swipe left or right, you should be able to see everyone. I notice I've done the iPad 100 times. Yeah, so my name is Josh Atherton. I have the pleasure of being the executive director for St. Vrain Valley Schools Education Foundation. I'm in my 5th year right now with the foundation. Little background on myself, and I'm gonna give a little background on Mr. Payne too. I'm a Longmont native. I went to Skyline High School. Like I said, been with the foundation I'm in my 5th year now, and my wife Ann is a teacher in the district, so got a lot of background in that. And Steve here, who did not say this, Steve was an educator for a really long time, and most recently was Erie High School. He actually opened up Erie High School, the new building, and then was at Meade High School as principal as well. And a long time ago, Steve was my assistant principal at Skyline. So Steve and I go way back, and long time ago. Steve is a great resource. He has chaired. Steve, how long have you chaired this committee now?
I think 6 or 7 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and the way the committee works is the committee is made up of all former Eleanor Travel Grant recipients, and which is great because they know what to expect, they know what they're looking for. And I actually don't make the decision. Steve plays a part in it, but we try to leave the decision up to those committee members. We try to mainly guide them. And like Steve said, what we want to do with this is just have a quick resource meeting. We've been talking about this for a long time. Like Steve mentioned, we haven't done this for 3 years due to COVID, and we'll kind of get into the details a little bit about it. And then I also want to take the opportunity to introduce Tammy. Tammy, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm Tammy Plumbo. I am the business manager and executive assistant for the foundation, kind of the logistics behind a lot of the things that we do. I'm also a Longmont native, St. Vrain Valley student. I went to, it used to be Loma Linda, which is now Timberline, and then Longs Peak Middle and Longmont High. So I was super happy when the job at the foundation came open to kind of come back to my roots. So super happy. I've always loved the Eleanor Venture Travel Grant. So as you are asking questions tonight, or as you're filling out your application, if you have any questions about the actual application process itself, please reach out to me and let me know. I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you, Tammy. And I wanted to just quickly give a background on what this grant is all about. Back in approximately 1985, Eleanor Flanders, along with Superintendent Keith Blue, started the St. Vrain Valley Schools Education Foundation, which at that time is called St. Vrain Valley Educational Inc. And the reason why they started the foundation was primarily because at the time the world was going through kind of a worldwide economic crisis, and locally the district was having a hard time paying teachers, going through a budget crisis. And at the time, Eleanor was on the school board. She was president of the school board. Her and Superintendent Keith Blue wanted to provide a way for local businesses and community partners to support teachers. And so they started the St. Vrain Valley Schools Education Foundation. When Eleanor retired, one of the ways that they wanted to honor her was to provide a travel grant. And she actually has a book that I've read, and it's phenomenal. Eleanor was a local philanthropist. She was an entrepreneur. She did a lot in her community, and travel was something that was very, very important to her. And she felt that teachers should also have the opportunity to travel. And she wanted to provide a way for teachers to do that and to dream big. And over the course last, 10, 12 years, our foundation has provided resources for teachers to travel throughout the world. And I want to just emphasize a couple points with this travel. One, we want it to be a learning experience for you as a professional educator. We would like to have it linked up with what you're doing in the classroom. We want the travel to be able to be a part of who you are when you come back from your travels, to be able to talk about it, maybe incorporate what you did on your travels in your classroom and link it up with the teachers, or with the students, excuse me, and maybe the teachers in your school. But I think probably the biggest part of this is we want it to be a vacation too. Okay. Let me reiterate. It needs to be a vacation. It cannot be 100% work. And I will tell you right now, if your application is you sitting in a classroom somewhere else from other than Colorado, and you're learning to speak Spanish, and you're there for 7 days, and you're in the classroom for 7 days, you're probably not going to get approved for the grant. The committee really, really wants you to take some time to go out into your surroundings, to explore, and just take a break. And it's our hope that not only do you learn as a professional, but when you come back, your batteries are recharged. Okay. So don't shy away from putting in there like, hey, I want to go paragliding, or I want to go, climb a mountain, or I want to go freestyle climbing, or I want to do something kind of crazy and fun. That's totally fine. And include it in your budget too, because we want to help pay for that. Okay. So, Steve, is there anything that I missed talking about those points when it comes to the travel grant?
The one thing that we want to talk about is, the people in the past, I've got a list of it here of some of the places people have gone, and that includes Rwanda, Cuba, Kenya, Japan, France, Central America. All those people had completely different goals. One of them went to an art institute. Another one went to Central America and wanted to discover all the animals in the sea, around Central America. And the Rwanda one had to do with kids in the classroom in Rwanda. So it was all different. But the one thing we wanted to emphasize probably for this one too is that we're not going to be able to leave the United States on this one, and for obvious reasons. So that would be the one thing that we want to make sure is real clear as we're answering questions for you. So.
Yep, and on the application criteria on our webpage, I hope you all visited that yet. There's 3 areas that we want you to focus on: commitment, impact, and adventure. I kind of talked about the commitment that, hey, this is something that we want you to be a part of and be really committed to. That impact that I was talking about, this is something you're going to bring back to your school, to your classroom, to your students. But like I said, adventure, we want you to go and have fun. So don't shy away from having fun. So a couple things that we wanted just to highlight that's a little bit different this year from previous years. In previous years, we have asked all of our applicants just to dream big. Obviously, we typically keep the grants to about $4,500 or less. And dreaming big, sometimes you can travel somewhere really far, find really cheap flights, you just kind of count your pennies and have a great experience. Something that we've changed for this year, and I'm hoping it's just for this year alone, is that we're asking travel to be restricted just to the continental US. That's primarily, the only reason is because of COVID. We talked to a lot of folks. Steve's wife, she's a flight attendant. We've talked to a lot of people that are within the travel agencies, and a lot of them right now are like, hey, even just 2 weeks ago, I feel like things have changed so much in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Mask requirements have gone away. A lot of vaccination requirements from travel have gone away. I think things are looking up here locally. But I know that there's other countries that have a lot more restrictions. And we just felt as a committee that, trying to select who is going to be the recipient of this grant, and trying to consider whether they can go there right now, or if it's going to be an issue in the future, was just too much of an issue for us right now. And Steve and I talked a lot about, we really, really wanted to have this available for this year. We did consider pausing it for another year, hoping that in 2023 that things would be better. But I just felt, I'm like, I think COVID is going to be here for a while. It's going to be a part of our life. We just need to move on. But we're going to keep it just to the continental US. I feel like there's plenty of opportunities in the US that people can go to and do things. It's not as exciting as Rwanda, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about those restrictions and even the amount that we talked about? Okay. All right. So I'm going to let Tammy just talk a little bit about the actual application. And it's pretty straightforward, but I think there's a couple things that she wants to touch on that are kind of the do's and don'ts, and just kind of keep an eye out for. So I'm going to hand it over to Tammy. Ms. Palumbo?
Thanks. Josh, do you know if I can share my screen? Oh, can you enable that?
Yep, you can now.
Okay. I was just gonna real quick actually share the Eleanor Venture page on our website. I'm not sure if you all have had a chance to kind of visit this page. So this is just our Eleanor Venture page. Just kind of talks a little bit about what Josh talked about with Eleanor. All the trips that past recipients have taken are listed down below. But I just real quick did want to highlight a couple things on the application itself. The way the application is set up, it is just a form on our website. So I would actually recommend kind of looking over the application and then getting all of your details together and then going in and plugging everything in after you kind of have all of your information gathered, have written, about your trip and that type of thing. Because we do not, unfortunately, right now have a feature for you to like go and start and save it. So I don't want somebody to like do a whole bunch of work, get interrupted, and then, have to start back over again. A couple of things that are just real important is like the first thing is like where you're going, just like generally, like I want to go to Miami, Florida, or Phoenix, Arizona, wherever you're like kind of going. And then as you get down farther in the application, there'll be more details. One of the things that we've actually talked about with the committee and our board is that if you're going somewhere like within the region and you want to drive, make sure to, when you're calculating your travel expenses, so if you're going to be driving somewhere instead of flying, make sure to calculate, money for gas and, if you have to like stay in a hotel to like get there, that type of thing. So a lot of these fields are required. So if you aren't going to have any air travel, and just, put 0 in there, and then just, in the breakdown of air transportation, say I'm driving, type of thing. Is the more detail you can provide, it helps the committee when they're reviewing it and making the decision. And then one of the things that I don't know that we really spoke about a whole lot is the process for once the application comes in. The committee sits down, they review it, decide who we want to interview. They bring, will select, the top applicants to come in and then do an interview, and then they make the decision on who will receive the grant. So just, we try to just ask for as much detail as possible. So just kind of try to think through, if you are taking a class, what that tuition is going to be. If you have any supplies needed, if you're taking an art class, then you have to pay for the class plus, $100 in art supplies or something like that, that type of thing. And then, make sure to, throw, like Josh was explaining, your expenses in there for, if you want to go, paragliding or snorkeling, make sure to also put those in there. And that's where kind of these per diems come in. And then just one of the other really important parts about it is you do have to have a letter of recommendation from your principal or an administrator at your school, just so that they know that you are taking that trip and, are aware that you'll be doing that, representing, not just the foundation, the school district, but also your school. So, and then just, our kind of standard agreements and that type of thing. So does anybody have any questions about the application?
One thing that came up to my mind was, I know we are kind of limited to the US, and would it be out of the ordinary to maybe possibly kind of have multiple locations rather than just kind of like one set destination?
Yeah, we're totally fine with that. I think as long as it fits within that $4,500 budget, I think we're totally fine with that. And that's what we're kind of thinking about. Like, you know, it'd be kind of cool for a teacher to do a road trip. And, you know, maybe you're finding that you're staying with other people, you know, on your travels, and, you know, you're significantly under that $4,500 amount. And you say, hey, you know what, I'm going to rent a car. That way I'm not putting miles on my car. Include a rental car. You know, I would just say this: do your best to really research the travel costs. You know, I'm not saying you need to stay at really cheap hotels, but committee's probably going to frown upon if you're staying at like the top hotel in the world, right? And you're including room service at $20 a meal. You know, you're doing that type of stuff. They probably won't be too happy about that. And remember, the people who are evaluating your proposal are teachers. Okay, they're teachers just like you, and they're folks just like you who've actually proposed, you know, a trip and then received the funds and went and did it too. So I think that's a really important concept too. So yeah, I think, Ben, we're totally fine with that.
And at this point, to remember to be very specific in the details that you put into the application. So if you are going to do what you said and do some traveling, you know, figure it up per mile. And if you're going to put it on, you know, 2,000 miles, then figure out how much that's going to cost for that, and the hotel costs on the way and that kind of thing as well. But be very specific as to the cost. So.
Yep. And
then one of the other things,
contingencies, I think contingencies is totally fine too. If you put like 5 to 8% contingency fund in there too, just for, you know, things that you don't know are going to pop up. You know, I think that's totally fine too. I think, like Steve said, just be as specific as you possibly can, but also know that, you know, you're applying for something that you're not going to get funds for. You know, I think we're hoping to award the funds in May, and then you'll go on your travels in June and July. Another part of this too that I think always comes up, we have had people apply for this grant and then in their application like, hey, yeah, we're going to be gone the first or 2 weeks of school, right? And principals typically don't like teachers to be gone the first 2 weeks of school. And usually I'm the one that gets a call from a principal because I know all the principals. They're like, Josh, why are you sending my teacher on a trip the first 2 weeks of school? Are you trying to kill me here? And I'm like, you know, sorry about that. That has happened. So please make sure you schedule your trip during summer vacation, and just stay in the loop with the principals. All the principals love this. They have all been very, very supportive. There's not one principal. I mean, Steve Payne here, he's a principal for a really long time. And Steve, you guys love it, right? Principals love this grant.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of my teachers after I left at the school I was at won the grant, and he's the one that ended up in Central America and loved the trip, you know, and obviously I wasn't a part of the choice on that one, but yeah, the teachers love it, and the principals love to have their teachers going on things like this. But I would be I'd look at the school calendar for next year and know that what it is at August 10th or 12th, or it is when school starts. So I would have the year trip completed by that time. That would be the key. So.
Yeah, I think I might have talked over you. Is there something you want to touch on?
well, I was just going to mention, you know, one of the other things that, you know, we do just like to make sure that all the applicants are aware. We do ask for a couple things from you when you do come back from your trip. One of those is that you will, you know, not only share your experience in your trip, you know, with your students and your school, but also, you know, we would love to have you make a presentation to the Board of Education as well as the Education Foundation Board. And then we have a couple local civic clubs. Josh, is it the Lions, Kiwanis, I think it was Kiwanis, that they actually, Eleanor was a part of the Kiwanis Club, and they actually provide a little bit of, you know, help with us funding it. And so they actually like to have you come and make a presentation to their group as well. And that's usually at the senior center. You know, we try to coordinate it with your school and that type of thing. So I just always like to make sure that that's aware. And then I'm not sure if you've checked out the past recipients on our website. We do ask for you to provide like a story, either, you know, I don't know if you saw like Colin Rickman a couple years ago, he went to South Africa and he was so like, yeah, that's one of my favorite videos. You know, so he did the video for us, you know, or pictures, you know, just a way we can share that story. So
go ahead, Ben.
I just love it because you brought of Colin Rickman, and I've only been here since August. This is my first year at Altona, and we linked up. And the first time I met him was when I was filming the interview for the Red Belly Bass releasal, and that's when I first met him. But then I saw that video too, and I saw that he was a part of this. But yeah, I met him through that video production, that interview, and it was just a great experience. And I ended up watching that video last night too, and it was well put together.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You just ask for something like that just to really help share your story. This is a very, Josh works with a lot of other education foundations across the state in the country, and this Eleanor Venture trip is something very unique to our foundation and our school district, and that really does all go back to Eleanor. But and as a staff, we kind of live vicariously through your travels. We love to hear about those when you come back. So I just always like to mention that as part of the travel grant. So
Yeah,
and then to get back to the application, if there's anything, if you get hung up when you're submitting it or anything happens, please make sure to reach out to me and I'll help you with that part of it.
Yeah, Ben, I think you made a really good point that, I mean, you know who Colin is. If there is someone on that list that whether it's from Erie High School or Erie Middle School or in your feeder system, and reach out to them and just say, hey, give me some pointers, right? And I apologize. We tried to have one of them on here and it didn't work out, but talk to him. The thing I love about Colin's trip, Colin, I think, was one of the first ones when I was here. And Colin at the time was a tech teacher at Longs Peak Middle School, and they had just incorporated the new VR lab at Longs Peak Middle. And he part of his proposal was like, hey, I want to go swimming with sharks. I want to go and do a safari. I'm going to bring all this video and the photography that he does back to my classroom, because Longs Peak Middle School has a high minority population, and a lot of those kids have never even stepped foot in the mountains, more or less gone to South Africa. And he brought that footage back, and then, like Ben, you said, we had him put it into a video, and we showed that to the school board when he did his presentation, and they were blown away because he took a 360-degree camera with him, high definition camera, and went swimming with sharks. And then the kids get to put the VR headsets on, and it's like they're there, in South America swimming with great white sharks. And, it's just, how cool is that? And they got to incorporate into part of what they were doing from a standards teaching point. And so, just think big. I know being restricted to just the continental US is difficult. It's not as cute as South Africa, but as Steve and I were talking about it, I think there's plenty of places that teachers can go. And I think you can actually spread that money out more, if you're not worried about really expensive flights. I mean, what's the most expensive flight? Maybe $400 or $500 round trip to New York, maybe. You can probably find $200 or $300 round trip tickets to most places. I guess with fuel going up right now, it's probably
I was going to say not anymore, but
yep. But some of those, I mean, I tell you what, some of those, like South Africa, I think Colin was spending $1,200 just on flights. It was very, very expensive for him to go down there. So, yeah, those are kind of the big pointers. I wanted to leave some time for you guys to ask questions if you have any questions. So I'll kind of hand it over to you guys. Any questions? No? I guess we did a really, really good job, Tammy and Steve.
I guess.
I would say that the biggest question I always get is, hey, if I turn in a proposal for $1,500, does that increase my chances of funding? And I usually say no. We asked everyone to try to be, we asked to be under that $4,500. The grant's not going to be any more than $4,500. I would say if your proposal is somewhere in that $4,000 range to $4,250 range, that's a good range. If you turn over a proposal for $4,500, that's totally fine too. We just want to make sure that, the meat on the bone is part of the proposal and what you're asking to do. And, how innovative is it? Is it just going on a road trip? And, we had one person who applied for funds for us, and the proposal looked really good. I'm not going to say who it was, but the proposal was really good. They came in for the interview, and they admitted to the entire committee that they were using this trip to go see their, I think it was like a brother-in-law or sister-in-law and their sister
In Costa
and
Rica.
Costa Rica. And, listen, I mean, they had a proposal, but, and I commend them for being honest, but the committee did not like that a whole lot. That they were using the foundation to go see family, like, oh, we're going to go and do some of this other stuff, but it's mainly for family. And that teacher didn't get funding. So, if you end up seeing someone, so be it, especially if you're in the United States. So make sure the travel is about what you're trying to do from a professional development standpoint. And yeah, I mean, honesty is fine, but just don't do that. Teachers are kind of ruthless. Listen, I'm married to a teacher. Okay. So teachers are ruthless when they're evaluating other teachers. And I think they hold this grant very, very closely to their heart because they all went through the process. And you do get interviewed by the committee. They're super awesome. They're very positive. They ask a lot of great questions. We asked you to come in. I'll set up times with all of you to come in. I don't know if we're gonna do it in person. I haven't thought about that far enough. I mean, we might just do Zoom. Zoom's awesome,
Yeah.
but it's a professional interview, and we try to make it really fun for you and not to be too overstressed with it. But they're going to ask you questions about, hey, how's this connect with standards in your classroom? How do you think this is going to impact students? How's this going to impact your school community? Those type of things. So just be prepared for that. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Steve, is there anything else I missed?
Sorry, I have a question.
Go ahead, Paige.
So obviously we're putting together a budget now, and only knows what's going to change between now and a June travel/July travel date. Is this like, if you budget for $1,500, that's all you're getting? Or, hey, the flight went up another $100, then there's another $100? Or how does that work, I guess?
Yeah, typically what we'll do is we'll fund you for what you're asking for. Okay. That's why I really say with this is be pretty liberal on your expenses. Make sure that you're putting contingencies in there. If everything's based on $4.25 gas, I would probably put $5.50 for gas per gallon. Just put in there. Yeah, and I mean, the committee's going to see that you're doing that. Again, if you're staying at like a 5-star hotel versus going to, an Embassy Suites, just be smart about it, obviously, but dream big, because I think that, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, the committee sees when people are just going on a little trip and there's, it's like $1,500 is not doing probably a whole lot. But like Ben said, hey, if you're going on a 2-week road trip and you're going to go visit like 8 different places, and you're going to stop in to visit one of our, I think it was another Costa Rica application. This particular teacher was doing a Spanish class. And this particular teacher went and visited these schools that were like year-round schools in Costa Rica. And they went and visited this couple of schools and visited with administration, met with other teachers, kind of talked about the type of curriculum that they had. And they actually took a bunch of photos. And then that was part of their discussion when they came back to the Board of Education about, hey, what we're doing in St. Vrain is pretty awesome. The teacher was like, I told them what we were doing, and they were all just in awe. Like, what? You have one-to-one iPads? That's insane. Things like that. So dream big. I would say $1,500 would be on the light side for travel. It's amazing how quickly you can use up $4,500 on travel,
And Josh, to be honest, my wife just told me, just as a flight attendant, that they're getting word that the price of flying is going to go way up because of the price of gas, and the fuel for an airplane obviously is extreme anyway, and it could go up. I would recommend, if you're flying at all, to look at the rate. And right now, if it's a $400 round trip, I would go $600 or $700 round trip, just to be safe. So,
yep. That's a good question, Paige. Anything else? Budget's always the biggest issue that people have. Itemize your budget as much as possible. Try to make it easy. I wouldn't say don't have your budget 3 pages long. Just, for meals, just put on there, guess what you're going to spend on meals. You don't need to put what you're spending on for each breakfast and lunch and dinner. We've had people do that. They list all the snacks they're going to buy. Don't do that. Just put down food and just say, hey, on average, I'm going to spend, $45, $50 on food or whatever it's going to be. Just put that on there for a total of this amount. Don't be afraid to put expenses on there that you're going to incur. We don't want you incurring expenses. We want this to be on us. Okay. We want to take care of your expenses, and we want you not to be thinking about money or those type of things. We want to take care of it.
Well, then make sure to, as you're going through your travels, make sure to add some money to your budget, to be able to buy, like a souvenir, or, if you are taking a class, if it's an aid that you're going to need to come back to teach and share about your trip, make sure to add some funds in there for those type of things as well.
Yep.
Because we want to make sure you have those items to help, really share your experience. So, if you're, visiting a monument or a, national park or, something like that, and, there's a cool souvenir type of thing that would help you in that teaching, make sure to put a little bit of funds in your budget for those type of things as well.
Paige, where do you teach at?
I teach at Skyline High.
Okay, perfect. And Ben, you said that you're over at Altona, right? Okay. And then Claire, you're at Erie Middle?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Great representation, people from all over the district. So we're recording this right now, so we'll post this on, we'll probably put it on our YouTube channel. And, we don't have a ton of people watching our YouTube channel, but it's mainly for teachers. And so if you have any colleagues that are interested in this, please share it, or don't, because that adds to competition. Keep it to yourself, I suppose. I don't know, whatever you want to do. But I really just want to say, on behalf of the Education Foundation, I'm just so grateful that you're on here and that you're looking at this. And if you have any suggestions on anything, we're always trying to improve. So just let us know. And hopefully one of you are going to be our next travel grant recipient. All right, Steve, do you have anything else?
No comments. I'm just really excited that you're all applying, and that you're excited to do it, because if you get the grant, you're going to love it. We haven't had anybody that came back that just wasn't so excited about going on the trip and getting it paid for. So,
yep. And I will be, if you are that person, I will be with you at the Board of Education meeting. I'll be with you at the Kiwanis meeting. I typically go with the recipients just to make them feel a little bit more comfortable. But Board of Education loves it when we send in our Eleanor Travel Grant recipients. It's just their favorite part. So, anything else?
Yeah, I'll go on the trip with you if you need me to. So yeah. So.
Steve will tag along. Yep.
That's right.
If you want a driving buddy, he'll drive with you. Tammy.
That's where I thought you were going with that, Josh. I thought you were going to say, and I'll be with you on your trip.
I'll be with you. It'll be a little awkward, but I'll be with you. Put a per diem in there for me, will you, Claire?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, Tammy, anything else?
No, just again, if there's anything we can do to help you as you're filling out the application, just let us know. Or if questions come up, reach out to us at the foundation, and we'll be happy to try to help guide you as we can. So.
Yeah, we both, Tammy and I have district emails that goes to our foundation emails too. So if you just want to search us up in the district email list, you can do that. And again, thank you all for what you do for our school district. Really appreciate it. And good luck to all of you.